What is up, everyone? Gold Squad represent. Who do we got in here? Dennis. We got Sanji, Holy Crypto Batman, Sowin, Yusuf, Sanji again, D Not Witch, Fingerprint. Love when you stream for my drive to work. Wow. Driving to work right now? When will we be millionaires? That's a question you gotta ask yourself, not me. Ask yourself and then go make it happen. Adrian, what up? Okay. Well, hopefully soon. That's all we can say. Unless you want to work hard and speed that process up. Today we literally have a plan, folks. We actually have a plan. We're going to watch the David Schwartz interview. I haven't watched it yet. We're going to watch it. I want to see what this dude's talking about. We're going to watch it and react to it, basically. And we can also watch... I don't know how you feel about this guy. I like BitBoy, but he is mentioning XRP, and we can watch what he says about it if we want to. But we're gonna watch this this video right here. Ripple CTO David Schwartz interview. This is new. Have you guys watched this yet? Let me know. Honey Badger, what's up? Live from the Gold Squad streets of New York. Damn. Waiting for my car to warm up. Wow. Well. Yo, Sanji. Thank you for the sub at tier 1 with 3 months in advance. Let's go. Sanji, you are the, let's see, 54th sub. 54th sub. I believe that hasn't updated yet. We're almost at 60 subs, folks. Okay, we're gonna watch this together though. It's 55 minutes though, so should I put it in 1.25x speed? I think I should. But let's get into it right away. And then after we watch this, we can just chill and do whatever. But this is gonna be some educational stuff right here with David Schwartz. I hope Thinking Crypto. He always asks great questions. He always asks great questions. So let's just watch it. Let's just watch it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Thinking Crypto channel. I have these...
And it's interesting that they choose to go with Thinking Crypto for the interviews. Like, they choose his channel. He only has 84,000. They could have chose BitBoy or someone huge, right? But they choose Thinking Crypto, and it's because he's respectful.
T.O. Ripple.
And he asks proper questions. He gives them, like, he's not going to go on there and say, oh, when does XRP go to the moon, right? Like, they want professional people. And hey, if anybody's watching... I would do an interview and I wouldn't ask weird questions, right? I wouldn't ask any weirdo questions if anyone's watching. But look at this.
With me, David Schwartz. David, great to be speaking with you today.
It is a pleasure to be speaking to you again, Tony.
David, I'm excited to chat with you because we saw...
Look at David right there in the purple. The purple. He looks like a space caveman. I forget who said that. Or a space... Yeah, space caveman or space Sasquatch.
The proposal you put out for federated sidechains for the XRP ledger. Now,
okay, and yeah, that was big news. We saw that. We saw that on Daily Market Update. We saw the sidechains.
Give us an overview of, at a high level, and we'll go through the details, of course. But what's the proposal about? What's the benefits, and how would these sidechains work?
Well, the general idea is to enhance the utility of the XRP ledger by essentially having additional ledgers that sort of literally sit to the side of it.
Wow. Okay.
The XRP ledger has a certain set of features that it provides, and those are the only features it provides. And if those features are a perfect match for your use case, then you don't need a federated sidechain. You don't need anything else. But if you need something that's sort of close to that, but not exactly that, then you can't do it on the main chain. If you try to put everything on a single chain, what happens is the chain gets slow and it gets expensive, and it degrades the ability of people to use it for simple payments. Like we saw that with Ethereum. Ethereum embraced DeFi, and that's great. I mean, you can do all kinds of cool things. You have a decentralized exchange, you have loans, and you have all these tokens issued, and that's fantastic. But if you just want to move ETH from point to point, your fees are sort of raised and lowered by the DeFi ecosystem, and that degrades its ability to be used for payments. And that's a trade-off, and you can make the trade-off, different ways. But of course, one of the best things that you can do with the trade-off is not have to make it. And the idea here is if you put those things on a sidechain instead of on the main chain, and you make it sufficiently painless for the sidechain to interoperate. Obviously, if the sidechain is its own world, then you lose some of the benefits of the main chain. But if you can keep them,
okay, I don't know why I thought I could listen to David Schwartz in 1.25 speed. I'm gonna turn it down. Charlie Lee bought a big bag of Flare. I had to remove that tweet. I had to remove the TikTok, folks, because I misconstrued that. The total funding was 11 million. Not his bag. We don't know. His bag still could have been $1 mil or $2 mil. But the total funding, and he is an investor. That's the point. That's the point of it. Guys, good gaming. Thanks for the thank you for that message. Also, Lander, thanks for the follow. Let's keep going.
Sufficiently connected.
This is very interesting hearing about the side chains, though. I like this.
Then the people who want DeFi can have DeFi on the sidechain.
And by the way, after we finish this interview, we can look at whatever, do Q&A or whatever. You guys can ask me anything, but I'm trying to get through this interview because I haven't even watched it.
And they don't degrade the payment experience for people on the main chain. So the idea is to have more transaction capability, keep fees low. And I think the coolest part is there really is currently no good way for people to innovate right at the lowest layer, like in the blockchain itself. If you want to change the way let's say you want to change the way the actual blockchain works, you want to change the consensus algorithm, you want to change the way it represents information, you want to change its core transaction feature set.
You said, could this devalue the XRP coins? That's what I'm trying to figure out from this interview. I'm trying to see if he will say anything about what the XRP value could be from the federated sidechains, because he just said they literally sit beside. It's like a new ledger beside, right? Chan, thanks for the follow.
You really have no good way to do that. And this ecosystem would allow people to innovate right at that very, very lowest layer. So it's interesting to people who want to build new sidechains that have new features, and
I mean, it seems bad for the XRP value. I'm going to just say that. Because it would spread and people could make their own thing, right? Unless it all uses XRP. If it all uses XRP, that's good.
Interesting to people who want to use the features that those new sidechains would provide.
So essentially, this is kind of a layer 2 solution for the XRP ledger. And what prompted the idea behind this? Was it a need from one of your customers, or you guys at Ripple were thinking about, okay, how can we boost utility or use cases around the XRP ledger? What was the genesis of the idea?
I think it's that compromise that we didn't want to have to make. So people want to use the XRP ledger, but they want DeFi, or they want access to ERC20 tokens, or they want people don't like compromises or trade-offs. They don't want to say, yes, you can have X, but you have to accept Y, with it, and that's something that you don't want. And I genuinely believe that the XRP ledger is the best distributed, decentralized ledger for payments.
Did you hear him, folks? He believes that the XRP ledger is the best distributed ledger, decentralized. You got to remember, the XRP ledger is decentralized. These idiots try to misconstrue and say it's centralized. If your stream is buffering, just turn your quality down, probably.
Problem is, people don't just want payments. Sure, they want payments, but payments doesn't seem to be enough. You can be the best at payments, and that just isn't enough to take over the world. And so people want DeFi, and they want loans, and they want other tokens, they want smart contracts, they want the ability to experiment with newer features. And the idea was to give them that. And I think the two biggest like tangible things, so there's the whole long tail of like, you can do anything you want with this technology. And you can always, with the new technology, would say, what do people use it for? Whatever they want that fits it. But like very tangible things, one of them is access to better tokens. The Ethereum ecosystem has some disadvantages, but they're like the tokens that most people want to access, except like Bitcoin, are there. And even Bitcoin, there's wrap Bitcoin, which is not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. So like you have...
Does anybody think we're gonna see Flare do the add Bitcoin as an F asset, FBTC? Does anybody think that? Emily, what's up? If XRP Valley are used to fund the sidechains, I hope so. I hope so. That's what we're going to try to figure out in this. We're gonna try to figure this out.
You can have the best DeFi and payments ecosystem in the world, and if you don't have the tokens that people want to hold and trade and receive, it doesn't do it. Like the best exchange, if it doesn't have the assets you want, is no good. So getting better assets into the XRP ecosystem was one very tangible thing. And I think the other thing is people want to experiment with smart contracts. I don't think we know where that ecosystem is yet. The only use case that really has tangibly emerged yet is decentralized exchanges that essentially do the same thing centralized exchanges do, but arguably better, at least for some people. And that's a big thing. I mean, but that's the only real tangible use case. But people want to experiment, and they want to do things like loans and crypto collateralized stable coins, and those things may very well emerge. And so that sort of that sort of DeFi smart contracting. We could have tried to build those things into the XRP.
Why do they ignore Flare though? Like, I feel like he's ignoring Flare. Doesn't Flare do all of this? How did Flare drop yet? No, in June, end of June. It's probably going to be going into July. You just found out that here, Australia XRP is connected to most of the big banks since 2015. Wow. How do you buy Flare? I have an entire video explaining that. It's on Bitrue or Poloniex only as of right now.
Ledger main chain, but I don't think the community would have accepted it, and I wouldn't have, because I still think that it is important to be great at payments. I still think that like being the best digital asset for payments really matters for technologies like interledger, web monetization. This idea that you can settle a transaction in a few seconds at near zero cost in a decentralized way that's censorship resistant, I would hate to give that up. Ethereum has essentially given that up.
Wow. Ethereum has given that up. Yes, this is exactly what I was talking about. Ethereum is for the slave system, folks. Listen closely. Ethereum is for the matrix, if you want to say it like that. It's for the system. They've sold out. If Ethereum was a sellout, or if Ethereum had that choice, it's a sellout. Ethereum is a sellout, which is good. That I want that, because my investment's going to do better if they sell out. But he's saying they don't want to sell out, which they already are kind of with the banks and stuff, right? But let's keep listening.
Decision, you can't have everything, but those two things really are the ones that are the most tangible. And then the long tail, just like you can do whatever you want with it, whatever uses might emerge in the future. The other cool thing is, let's say there's some feature that really should be on the XRP Ledger main chain. I don't know what it is, but let's say someone proposes some new feature. They say, I'm going to build this new feature that does, some kind of anonymous transfer. Let's say I want to add, shaded addresses or something. It's very hard to get a feature added to a public blockchain. If you try to get that added as a native feature to Bitcoin or Ethereum or any major blockchain, you're going to be fighting for a very long time, and justifiably so. Because security being like the most obvious problem, and you impose costs on everybody, you increase their resource consumption of their service. You have to make a case that like the benefits outweigh the costs, and there's a heavy bias against doing anything because everybody worries that you're going to compromise the stability of the system. With federated sidechains, you could come up with a new proposal for the XRP ledger and implement it on a sidechain, and not only do you get the satisfaction of like your feature being able to work on a real blockchain with real money immediately, but also you can prove to the world, look, we've been running this feature for 6 months and it hasn't crashed our servers. It hasn't resulted in funds being stolen. Like, it's a mature production grade feature that now you have a much stronger case to be made that it could be included in the main chain.
See, that's insane. Like a normal person could make one, is what he's saying. A normal person could make a feature demonstrate it on a side chain, an XRP ledger side chain, and then potentially get it added to the main one eventually, right? Because they're demonstrating that it actually works.
So you can build a test net, but test nets don't have real money on them. And so there isn't that incentive to, they don't get stressed. People sort of, the unfortunate reality is, unless you have something very specific that you want to test, you're going to ignore a test net. And so it doesn't get the kind of real, no one tries to hack test nets as much as they would try to hack a blockchain that they get paid $1 billion if they hack. So it allows you to get the feature out faster with real money. And that should facilitate the process of continuing to innovate in the XRP ledger main chain.
Got it. So for example, would a central bank be able to test a CBDC on a side chain? Would a likes of a JP Morgan?
See, look at Thinking Crypto. Let's get a round of applause for Thinking Crypto. He's always asking the strategic, good questions where it's like, look at David's face. That says it all. He's always asking these good questions, which I love. But he keeps it respectful. Like if they don't answer, he's not like, oh, shut up. When is XRP going to the moon? When is XRP? When is the USA gonna do this? Blah blah blah. He keeps it respectful, but let's see what the answer to this.
Be able to issue like a JPM coin, like they did with Quorum, on a side chain and test it out, and would it be private? And I know this is a lot.
See, all the hardcore XRP people are gonna break down David's facial body language and his facial expressions, micro expressions and shit in this moment. And look at Thinking Crypto. Let's see.
Loaded question.
Yeah, they could certainly do that. And the thing is, like, many of those things are not going to happen on public decentralized ledgers, at least not yet. And the conventional wisdom is.
But what about a CBDC private ledger, though? Please tell me it uses XRP, though.
As well, if it's not going to be a public decentralized ledger, why would you bother using blockchain technology for it? Why not just use a centralized database? And the argument that I've made is that most of those existing systems, like existing central bank and payment systems, their security comes from rigid controls on who has access to the system. Like if you've looked at some of the hacks of SWIFT or other types of like payment systems, what happens is when there's a compromise to the system, the hammer comes down, they find the party that failed and the hammer comes down on them. And of course, these systems are intimately tied to regulators who can put pressure on banks and say, you're supposed to have a 24-hour response center. You're supposed to meet these, you're supposed to be SOC 2 compliant. You're supposed to meet all of these requirements. You screwed up. And if you don't fix it, we're putting you out of business. And also we can sue you for millions of dollars. That's a great security model for something other than something intended to have mass production. Like if you want to scale CBDC central bank systems or institutional payment systems, the security model has to change. And the security model of blockchains, even if they're private, even if they're not decentralized, the security model is that you don't have a centralized trusted data store that you have to protect at all costs. And so I genuinely believe that, like, even if these systems are private and not decentralized, there are still tremendous advantages to using blockchain technology, and that's actually the missing piece if you want to scale enterprise payment systems.
Okay, right here, Thinking Crypto should say, but do they use XRP? Because he should say, yo, I'm speaking from a, this is what he should say, or this is what I would say. I'm speaking from a investor standpoint in XRP, right? Does this affect, do these private ledgers actually use XRP? Because that's what I care about. That's what you should say right now. SEC should go after BNB more than XRP. I agree, Stephanie. Stephanie, I agree. Welcome to the chat as well. It's your first time chatting. Eddie Light, what up? Let's go.
Look at what the XRP ledger or Ethereum or Bitcoin have done. Like, they have not had significant security issues in many, many, many years, despite the fact that they're not really professionally managed, right? They're run by whoever wants to run them. They don't have any permissions, and yet, and you can make billions of dollars if you hack into them. And these systems are just not hacked into. They're intrinsically resistant to the types of attacks that have created problems for institutional and enterprise payment systems. So even if it's going to be centralized, I still think that there's an advantage there. And I think the other nice thing about it is not just that it's better for the institutions because they have this better security model. It's not as difficult for them to scale it up. That's great. But the other thing is, if we can get different central banks on a common technology platform and a modern technology platform, then we can pursue interoperability. One of the things that I discovered working at Ripple for the last 10 years and selling software to banks is that they all have different systems, they all have different standards, they all have different everything, and trying to get them to interoperate was a nightmare. If they were all on a modern platform, that would just be so much easier. I mean, that would, and these systems will inherently be able to support foreign assets. So like my central bank vision would be like the US has a system, the EU has a system, you know, Russia has a system, and then wherever jurisdictions are compatible, they can federate assets. So if you're a US bank, you could hold a euro balance that the Fed would sort of be the custodian for, and it's a balance reflected on the Fed's balance on the European ledger and your balance on the Fed's ledger. And now you could reach a world where every major financial institution in the world could settle with every other major financial institution in the world in any asset that has jurisdictional compatibility in a few seconds, all the way back to a central bank.
Do you not see how revolutionary this is? Anybody who's an XRP hater, do you not just see what he said? That's insane. That is insane. Now we're on the truthful side here. This is the truth side where like people just ignore banks. Oh, let's just ignore CBDCs. Let's just ignore central banks. Dude, you think those go away? Hell no. Everything that's happening right now is actually for them to make a change. Everything. Right? They control it all. They don't just let something, you know, they control it all. So everything that's happening is for this. It's for the banks to have a reset. The great reset is all for this. But what he just said blew my mind. That blows my mind. You could reach a world. The way he's saying it too, you could reach a world where this can happen.
Other major financial institution in the world in any asset that has jurisdictional compatibility in a few.
And interoperability is going to be the main thing with this, because with the internet, that was the main thing, interoperability as well. So with a new internet, which this is, and a new financial system, which this also is, it's going to be key. And that's where Quant and even XRP with these sidechains and things like Polkadot and all of that come in, where it can interoperate.
Seconds, all the way back to a central bank. Now, that's effectively counterparty free.
You said will be difficult to get all countries on a single system. Yeah, that's why he said the EU has a separate system. They all have their separate systems, right?
Free, because there's nothing that's more a dollar than the Fed owing you a dollar. Like that's world changing. That's a very big deal, and this technology can do it.
So, for example, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it as much as possible, let's say the Federal Reserve had a side chain on the XRP ledger and their respective digital dollar, for example, and Russia had its respective fiat currency as well on a side chain. Would XRP still be the bridge asset between those two if for the movement of money? And how would that function?
Did he just ask what I said he should ask? Did we hear this correctly? Did he ask exactly what I said I would ask and what he should ask?
Would XRP still be the bridge asset between those two if for the movement of money? And how would that function given, let's say they're both private, the Federal Reserve sidechain and the Russian central bank sidechain is private. How would that all work, and how does XRP fit within that?
He just asked it. He really just asked it. Okay, we're going to get an answer. Let's see if David Schwartz dodges this, or let's see if he takes it head on. He should take it head on because it's crucial times right now. Hold up. Stephanie, you can hate XRP, but banks are not going away. Yep, they're going to become optional. Might as well make some money with them. Facts. Exactly. Facts, Stephanie. I agree. I don't care about what Madonna says about XRP. Okay, let's keep going because he's about to answer this, and I hope we get a bullish answer here.
Well, obviously, nobody can force either of those entities to do anything that they don't want to do. I would love to say, oh, they're going to have to use like XRP as their intermediate. But the other lesson that I've learned being in this business for a decade is you can't force your customers to do the things that you want them to do because you won't have any customers. Like this is a big leap in everything. And like if we try to say, oh, you're going to get what you want, but you also have to, it's never going to happen. Like building this system is going to have to some extent be its own reward. But what's probably going to happen, what I foresee is that these things are going to start out as walled gardens.
Mm.
If the
Okay, back to the walled garden thing. Okay, I see where he's going.
Federal Reserve the Federal Reserve is probably not going to be a first mover here. There's going to be smaller countries that are more willing to experiment and have less existing infrastructure that they would need to change over. And they'll build these systems as walled gardens, and they'll heavily control them. And what will happen is people who are on both sides of the walled garden will be able to monetize the fact that they're on both sides of the walled garden. So if you're on a public blockchain and you're also inside this central bank system, you can facilitate people's payments to and from between those two ecosystems. And it will be your risk and your effort, and you'll charge a fee for that. And customers won't get the greatest experience, but it'll be pretty good. And what my hope is that once central banks start to get confidence that the system is working the way it's designed to, and they'll have an appetite to they'll have a big red button they can push to knock the walls down.
Right.
And when they reach the point where the walls, they don't see them doing any good, they'll knock them down. But I think what's going to happen in the short term is
I'm pretty sure knocking the walls down is using XRP in this type of scenario.
Going to be the liquidity will come from the same conventional sources. So in the US Euro example, I might be a financial institution in the United States, and I can hold a euro balance and I can make euro payments, but I need to get from US dollars to euros somehow. And probably what will happen is the very same players that are making US to euro liquidity today, like say JP Morgan Chase, will make liquidity on this new system. And it'll be more competitive, and their margins, I hope, will be tight, and customers will get a good experience. And then when it comes to pathways that aren't like USD to euro, where someone can't afford to spend $5 billion to make the liquidity in that corridor, great. Assets like XRP that can move across international borders in seconds for pennies will find a use case in that very, very long tail. And the world in which I think we have the biggest success is the world where lots and lots of things get tokenized, because there's not if we tokenize everything, the example I always use, because I just like the way it sounds, is like a real estate investment trust in the Seychelles Island. I want to buy some shares of it. I like that particular real estate investment. I don't have any exposure to real estate in the Seychelles Island. If I can just do that, that's really cool. And that there isn't going to be liquidity between, Apple stock and this one real estate investment trust in the Seychelles Island. And here's a case where different assets can compete to be that intermediary asset. In today's world, the US dollar kind of has that market locked up. But the dollar has a big disadvantage, which is there's no canonical dollar. And as long as there's no canonical dollar, if I want to pay you $1, I have dollars and you accept dollars, that may be the easiest thing in the world, if it's cash and we're in the same room, or it may be virtually impossible if you are if you're in somewhere else in the world and I have it in an investment account. And dollars are not one asset, they're a unit of measurement of asset. And so these XRP is a canonical asset. If I have XRP and you want XRP, the default assumption is it should work, rather than with dollars, when the default assumption is we can probably find some way to make it work eventually. So I think there's room in that ecosystem for XRP to compete as an intermediary asset, but it will have to compete on its own merits. If your strategy is we're going to force customers to use XRP because that makes me rich, that's never going to work. I'm not going to be able to get you to do the things that make me rich. But what I can do is I can give you a lot of options and hope so that you can pick the best one. And then if the best one happens to make me rich, that's great for both of us. And it's on me. It's on the ecosystem, and then customers get fantastic experiences. One of the things I've said a lot is that there is no way a cryptocurrency project can succeed in the long term by trying to pull other cryptocurrencies down, other projects down. What we need to do is...
Wow, is that like a jab at Cardano right there? Because Charles is always on here just blasting other cryptocurrencies.
Grow the pie. And then people will, if you need DeFi today, Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain, you're going to go to the ones that give you the best experiences. They don't have to force you. They don't have to, and then you get a better experience. So
basically what he's saying is XRP is the best at what it's doing. It's the best digital asset for payments. So when they look at their options, what would they choose? Why wouldn't they choose the best one that saves them money? So this goes back to the same thing. Of course, he just completely dodged the question, as we saw. You're never going to get a clear answer, right? Because he doesn't want to just tell you that it will be used, right? Because that's stupid. He looks unprofessional if he does that, and he's probably not even allowed.
Kind of the world we need.
Now, one of the questions I had, and I think you spoke to some of it, and that is the native assets. Aside from XRP, And the native assets that you're speaking to would be, for example, CBDCs, a stable coin, or a tokenized asset or real estate, whatever it may be. Is that what the native assets, the language that was mentioned in your proposal, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. So you could use XRP as your native asset if you wanted, and there would be some cases where that would be appropriate. You could have your own native asset. Central bank would be a good example. You could also launch a new cryptocurrency as your native asset if that's what you wanted to do. And I think there are advantages and disadvantages to all of those approaches. But I think one of the things that people don't really recognize is that there are a lot of disadvantages to sort of launching a new native token. The narrative in the space has been like, you want to monetize your project, launch a new token. But as someone who's done that, I can tell you that there's a lot of disadvantages in doing that. And one of the biggest ones is distribution is hard. If you give a token to someone, it's a taxable event for them in most of the world that puts selling pressure. And it starts out having no value. So if you earn a native token in a new project, you can't monetize it without cutting the throat of the project. And you get this ecosystem where everybody wants to be the person to sell, but doesn't want to be the one person who's saying that they're selling it. It becomes almost a moral test. But if you use XRP as your native token in a project, instead of launching your own token, you don't have a distribution problem. That sounds like a minus, but it's a plus. And what happens, you say, well, I can't give away the token to incentivize partners. It doesn't work anyway. The people you give away the token to, aren't necessarily incentivized. It just doesn't work as well as you think it is. But what it does do is if you have block producers or validators or stakers or whatever, people who reap transaction fees or whatever it is that like people are supposed to do to make money in your ecosystem, if the revenue that they get is your native token, they basically can't cash out until some indefinite future, and then they can't do it without harming your own project. But if it's XRP, they can cash out immediately. And they're not going to harm your ecosystem because your ecosystem is not going to be affected by it. And they're not going to harm the XRP ecosystem, because if people had to get XRP somehow to get into your ecosystem, and if they sell it, to monetize it, they're not hurting the XRP ecosystem. It's a net zero. So here, you don't have the distribution problem. You don't have the artificial selling pressure that comes. You don't have people who are fighting this sort. You don't have to figure out how to distribute the asset. You don't have selling pressure from people trying to pay their taxes when you give them the asset. I think you can make a case that for most projects, it makes more sense to use an established digital asset. It's easier for people to get. It's easier for people to monetize.
So basically, this is a long-winded answer, and what I'm getting from it is that why would the people who we think are just going to say screw XRP, right? The people who we think are going to say screw XRP and make their own. Why would they do that when it's so hard to launch a native token, is what he's saying. Also, why does this feel like digital countries? Like, the way he's talking about entering your ecosystem and making money, like, he's talking about it as if it's like a digital country. Like, they come in and this is how they make money in the ecosystem and their revenue comes from here. Like, it feels like a digital country. Charles is a man with pride. Yup. Once one bank starts to use it, the rest of banking. Exactly. Living legend. All it takes is one. If one uses it, they're gonna compete unbelievably with the rest. So let's keep watching. But I'm liking where he's going with this. David always gives the coded answers. He always gives the coded answers. So like a normal person listening, they wouldn't even understand what he's talking about, first of all. And second of all, they wouldn't be able to pick out his actual answer because they never give clear answers.
And if you think about it just conceptually, like imagine if you had one form of dollars that you use to buy groceries, one form of dollars you get paid in, one form of dollars you pay your rent in. Like that's bad. That's like not a healthy ecosystem. So unless you think that your ecosystem can...
And this is also why all cryptos are going to get wiped. Most of them will get wiped. Why do we need 10,000 freaking cryptos? Why do I need a crypto for, I don't know, casinos? Like, why does that actually need to be a thing? Why? Unless it's like your website and your company's ecosystem, then you could have one. But what he's even saying is it's hard to launch a native token like that. So they're already established. And he's also talking about how we could show it. Hold on. Let me bring up Photoshop. Actually, nah. Let's just look at the XRP logo right here. Look at this. So look at the XRP logo, right? Take it. No, I'm not going to save it, but look at this, right? So flip this upside down, or flip this to the right, you get an hourglass. Flip this to the right, you get an hourglass. Like this. Just flip it up to the right and you get an hourglass. But basically what he's saying, look, this part of the logo, a bunch of shit is just going to be left out and hitting a wall. And this has no limits up here. Right? Like, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. And this middle part, when you flip it, only a certain amount are going to get through this little middle part of cryptos. Only the established. That's why Bitcoin will probably be around for a very long time. That's why Ethereum, they're household names. They already established. So I really like what he's saying. Western Union. Yeah, Western Union's. Oh, my. Yeah, but a lot of these will get wiped out. And that's what he just said. Why do I need a damn crypto for my groceries? Why do I need a crypto for the movie theater? It doesn't make sense.
Provide everything that everybody wants. You should really try to avoid the multiplication of assets. And again, I don't think it's as effective a monetization tool as whatever value you create, people will pay for. However they're going to pay for.
Sure. There was a question that came in from the community about these sidechains and the validators for those sidechains. And once again, I think you may have addressed some of this already. What would be the incentive for the validators for those sidechains? And would it be like the JP Morgan example I use, if they have other small banks that they work with being the validators, would they have to have those existing relationships, or I may not be articulating this well, but if you can point me in the right direction there.
So it depends on your particular use case. So the default position is that the incentive for the sidechain validators is the same for like mainnet validators, which is like you find validators who benefit from the sidechain and have a sort of stake in that ecosystem. But you could certainly, let's say you're bridging other assets. Let's say you're going to bridge Ethereum, Ether onto your sidechain, or even XRP onto your sidechain. You could charge for that, and you could have the validators get those fees. You could charge transaction fees, and you could divide it among the validators. You can have a block production scheme. You can implement any compensation scheme that you.
You guys literally don't understand how many new ways of making money are gonna come. You'll never have to work a labor in your life if you learn this shit. I need to make a TikTok about that, folks. If you learn this and dive headfirst into this industry, you'll never have to work a damn shoveling day in your life. Ever again. Truly. There's going to be ways with Flare Finance and Flare Network and just staking in general and this initial capital you're going to get off the boom of crypto. There's going to be ways. And even getting blockchain related jobs. A lot of people in Wall Street have quit their jobs, paying hundreds of thousands a year. They've quit their jobs to go get blockchain jobs. And if you follow all the venture capital people, they're all of the venture capital people and hedge fund people are all investing in this stuff. Like, maybe I'll show you guys after this interview. But let's keep going. I'm liking where this is going. I want him to ask some more deep, hard questions here. Don't do a TikTok about it. Well, that's just a concept. Like, you make all this possible. Young Chelsea, thank you. Really, I can only like be here as a mirror for you to like look at me and then want to stay focused on it, right? I can only be here as a mirror. And I can only tell you about these things. I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. I'm going to be making content, and you don't even, man, they're not expecting me. What I'm going to do or who I'm going to be, I'm only 20 years old. I'm going to flourish like a damn lotus flower, and they're going to be surprised by it. But thank you. Let's keep going. David Schwartz, come on, spit us some heat. I just want him to say XRP to the moon once. Just once, say it. Also, one thing on David Schwartz, he feels like a long-lost ancestor. Or like the same type of family. All these Ripple people. All the Ripple people, it really feels like we were family in a past life. I was part of focus group of CNN study, and I stressed to them that they're not covering crypto enough. Wow. You mentioned me? Holy crypto Batman, you mentioned me? That's good. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Mention me to the news people. Tell them about me. Tell them about me. That's funny. And that's good you're telling them about crypto. Okay, let's keep going because we're 21 minutes in here. And by the way, the plan is we finish this. We watch this interview, and then we could do whatever after for however long. But let's keep going.
You want. What's probably going to happen, like in the central bank version, there probably would be fees to join the system that would then be used to maintain the infrastructure, whether that's directly paying the validators or whether that's just paying someone's, Amazon EC2 bill or whatever it is, it could be the Fed's EC2 bill, or they could decide that like it's a better security model for them not to be the centralized operator of those because that's a single point of failure. And they may decide that they're going to divide the revenue with other institutions. There's complete freedom to choose that model however you want, depending on what the sidechain does. So if let's say you want to launch a project and you want to do this big DeFi thing, and you have this idea that the validators are going to, also be stakers and they're going to get compensation and you can build that system, and then you can do whatever you want with the transaction fees. You can do whatever you want with, the way you could tax every transfer if you want and give it to the validators. Now, whether or not that would be a competitive project in the ecosystem, maybe it would be. You could allow, you could have a system to elect validators, or you could retain an iron fist over who the validators are. You have complete control to innovate at the consensus layer and at those low blockchain layers. So what I would sort of flip back to the community is like, come up with the ideas that you think are going to attract users. And now you have a platform to try them out, and you can have real money on them immediately. So if there is an appetite for whatever your design is, then great. And of course, if you get a terrible design that doesn't work, then you won't get any users. But I think this idea of inspiring people to develop, if you look at the way Bitcoin built its ecosystem, Bitcoin was the only game in town. Like if you thought decentralized ledgers were a cool thing, we didn't even have that term then. But like if you thought that this whole cryptocurrency thing, we didn't really have that. But you thought whatever it was, if you thought it was cool, like that was the ecosystem that you would build in. And Ethereum kind of inspired people with developers with this idea that like you can build you can build into that blockchain layer, but you're stuck with like the design of the blockchain. So I think our pitch is like, well, what if you don't like the fee structure? What if you don't like the consensus algorithm? What if like you don't like the native token? We're going to let you innovate like at an even lower level. And I think
so. Basically, he's telling people to build on the XRP ledger right here, which is kind of weird that he's just doing like a pitch and telling them that come over from Ethereum and build on us.
I think that's extremely interesting, especially for the things that I can't think of today, like the things that people will build that I can't envision.
So essentially, would this function very much like Ethereum, where you have, for example, the basic attention token? It is an ERC20 token, runs on the Ethereum blockchain. I can see its own respective transactions unless it's a private blockchain. Would it be the same process as building on Ethereum in a way, building on this Federated or on the sidechain on the XRP ledger?
If you're building on an existing sidechain, it will be the same process. If you want to create a new sidechain, it's going to be a little more complicated. We're going to try to make it as smooth and simple as we possibly can, but you do have to stand up validators or block producers or whatever you want to call them. Now, if you have a bunch of partners ready to go to run them, then that makes it a cinch. The more tricky use case is the case where you don't really have that ready to go. And we're going to have to come up with ways to make that easy, because like if you have to go get accounts on, hosting services and you have to put all that together yourself, that's going to be a huge drag on people's ability to innovate. Someday Codius might be able to do that, but we're not quite there yet.
That was going to be my next question. Is this related to Codius? And it sounds like in some way it will be.
Well, not in the near future, but like I had this vision a while ago. So first of all, there will be interoperability through Interledger, so they're not going to be two disconnected worlds. But the really cool stuff, I shared this idea with Stefan a couple of years ago. He called it Codius++. It's still pretty far off, but you could imagine a world where you have a federated sidechain and one of its validators just goes away, it disappears. And the other validators say, oh no, like we're supposed to have 26 validators and we only have 25. And they go and they find another hosting service using Codius, and they stand up a new validator. They launch its software. They get the public key from that new validator, and then they go through a key ceremony, and they then add that new validator back into their quorum to restore their own health. Mm-hmm. Now, that's incredibly cool. We need a lot of things both on the federated sidechain side and on the Codius side for that to happen. But the crypto to make that happen is very doable. Like the crypto to do that is not a problem. It's pretty simple. You can use something called erasure coding, and it works really well to regenerate.
Okay, this technical stuff is very out of my league, but it seems like he's going to use Codius, or maybe in the near future, which is very interesting. I've only heard of Codius a couple times, but let's keep going. I'm waiting for him to talk about the SEC lawsuit, because that's in the title. SEC lawsuit and PolySign, which is a secret, what's it called, project by David Schwartz. But he's covering the federated sidechains right now. Let's keep going.
Quorum. I would love to see that happen, but it's just a lot of work. But you could imagine this world where you have these self-healing smart contract engines that run on various different infrastructure, and the infrastructure operators don't even necessarily know what's running on their infrastructure. So let's say Amazon one day offers like this type of Codius hosting, and so and like my smart contract knows that if it
wow, he just suggested Amazon. That's crazy.
Needs to host something, it can just go to Amazon, provision a machine all internally, use Interledger to pay them, and then shoot its software into that machine, get the credentials back signed by Amazon, so it knows that it's talking to a machine provisioned by Amazon. And then it can you could even like have people vote to update code, so the software can say, I won't update my code unless a quorum of users like votes for that update, and so it maintains its own software state. Like that's the future that I envisioned, a couple of years ago. When we're a little bit closer to it now. Codius has been progressing, and now the federated smart chain side is progressing. And so maybe sometime
I like hearing the big brains laugh.
The next couple of years, we'll bring those things together. That would be incredibly cool, but it's not on anyone's roadmap today, except up here.
So there was a question that came through from the community about, let's say you have one of these side chains and someone decides.
By the way, Forbes called David Schwartz the $1 trillion man. You know that? I think it was Forbes, but they called him the $1 trillion man. Let's keep going.
Let's use XRP. The community about, let's say you have one of these side chains and someone decides to use XRP as the asset. Where's that XRP coming from? Is it from the open market, or is it from like Ripple escrow, or a combination of both? How would that?
Very interesting question right there.
But most likely it would come from the open market. So there would be, what would probably happen is that people who wanted to interact with that ecosystem, let's say it uses XRP for its transaction fees, just as the XRP ledger does. So you'd have the same problem of having to get some XRP in order to pay the transaction fees. But this is the cool part. You might think that that's kind of a painful process, because you not only have to get XRP, but you also have to get it onto the sidechain. But the way federated sidechains works, I don't know if you're familiar with what's called an X address, but it's an address on the XRP ledger that includes both an account and sort of a bit of data that says who to credit. Mm-hmm. Sidechain accounts can have X addresses. So you could log into an exchange, trade for XRP, let's say, and then withdraw all the way to the sidechain.
Oh, wow.
And similar in reverse. If you get an X address, let's say, if I log into an exchange and I get an X address, I can send XRP from a sidechain all the way back to the exchange just with my X address. So it will be a fairly painless process for people to get XRP into and out of the sidechain. So that makes things really easy. The actual sort of real XRP, there isn't really real XRP unless it's held on the XRP ledger mainnet. That's like the canonical source of XRP. That's what controls the supply and so on. So the chain itself will have an account on the mainnet. So if I have 100 XRP on a sidechain account, then somewhere on the chain's mainnet account, there'll be 100 XRP. And just one cool thing to mention, because it just occurred to me here, is another advantage of these federated sidechains is the XRP ledger has some rules that people might not like.
He just gave an example of 100 XRP on the sidechain, in the sidechain account, right? 100 XRP? That's literally like $90. So clearly there's something going on here where if there's a lot of these sidechains built and they all use XRP, the price is bound to be at a super big number, because you'll run out of XRP. Like, the supply is what's so intriguing here, because this is coming for trillions of dollars. Like, the banks they already have signed up got trillions of dollars flowing through,
including things like the 20 XRP account reserve and incremental reserve. And like, if you have a use case where those things are, it's a trade-off. You can't be the best at everything. If you have a use case where those I call them features because they do provide benefits, but they also have costs associated with them. And federated sidechains could have a different account reserve. They could have different rules about account creation and so on. So that also is a way to get around those sort of limitations.
So where are we at this point with this idea? Is it definitely going to happen, or are you looking for feedback to fine tune it, or are you asking the validators on the XRP ledger to weigh in? What's the timeline here and the plan for rollout?
So the proposal is a starting point. We'd like to get feedback from the XRP ledger community to find out whether there is an appetite. Could Ripple just sit down and build this whole thing all by itself? Even if we did, would it be what people actually want to use? I don't think we know. So we want to get a sort of a shared vision, and that vision may be exactly what I shared, and it may be very different from it. And I don't have a proprietary interest. I want the best outcome. So it's going to be interesting to see what feedback we get. Now, there are three people.
Could it price out new side coins? I'm pretty sure he's saying side chains, not coins. But if they try to launch a new native asset on the side chain and not use XRP on it, it just wouldn't make sense. Why wouldn't you use XRP? Today I bought more crypto and I couldn't resist and bought more Hbar. Good. Stack the bags. Stack the bags at 20 cents.
Pieces to the federated sidechain vision, like to get it to happen. The big one is building the federator, like the actual software that does the federation. But there's some changes to the XRP Ledger network. They're not essential, but they're nice. That basically make the XRP Ledger sidechain aware, so that integration with tooling gets better. But then, like, in order to actually have a sidechain, you have to have the code for the sidechain itself. And so there's certain aspects of design of the XRP Ledger server software that just are not very amenable to change to these kinds of changes. So it's kind of a long road. This is going to be community driven. We're just at the very beginning. We'd love to see feedback from the community to see what they want and what will provide them features that they.
See, community driven to me is not bullish for that, for the side chains. It's not really bullish if it's community driven for me. In terms of like the seriousness of what's going to be on the side chains, right? Because I feel like if something very, very, very important was on the side chains, it might not have been community driven and they would have taken it into their own hands and really started on it. So maybe that CBDC private ledger, I mean, I don't know how all this inner workings work of this. Like, that stuff is the technical stuff. Like, David Schwartz is a super genius, as we know. But let's keep watching. After we get through this, isn't there community full of banks? Well, no. There's tens of thousands of XRP army people that are invested in the coin. But the partners are full of banks. Yeah, the Ripple partners are full of banks. But let's keep watching. We got like 19 minutes or something left on this, and then we're gonna get into whatever we want after.
Use. I mean, people are going to be able to experiment with these new features, this new functionality. And the key thing is that it will keep the XRP ledger, the actual mainnet, lean and efficient. And if that, as far as time frame, I think it's going to depend on what the community actually wants. I think the roadmap is going to be very influenced by what people want to build on. I think my guess is going to be DeFi is probably going to be the biggest early driving use case, sure. And I think you're going to see whether it's hooks on a sidechain or whether similar to what Binance did. Binance essentially cloned Ethereum. You might see that. I don't know what there's appetite for in the community though, and so I'm kind of working a little bit in a vacuum here, and so it's going to depend a lot on the feedback. We don't have a secret agenda. We don't have a like this is what we want to build, and we're just hoping to get other people to like help do some part of the work.
See, look at that. Look at that. He clarified what my thoughts were right there. We don't have a secret agenda, and we're not just trying to get the people to build it for us. So that means they really aren't even like the seriousness of the things that'll be on the side chains. I don't know. That makes me less bullish on them, but we'll see what happens. Only time can tell with this shit.
We really genuinely like don't know. What we see happening in this space is like we saw the ICO craze, we've seen NFT craze, and we've seen DeFi, and it's just hard to know what's there. And you don't want to be reactive. You don't want to wait until somebody else proves that some technology is the coolest thing. You're like, oh shoot, we better do that too. Like we don't want to be in that situation either. So what we want to find out is like, what do people want to build? What do people want to have? And honestly, what are people willing to contribute to? Because this is not going to succeed if it's just a Ripple thing,
Yeah, I love the idea, and it's essentially a playground where you can go and test things out. Something that came to mind, and you may not be able to answer this because it's just kind of random.
Today I was going to buy quant, but it pumped too much. Yeah, you go wait for a dip. Wait for the dip. Let's keep going.
Amazon on their blockchain hosted services, they have like Hyperledger and Ethereum as a solution. Would now the XRP Ledger sidechain be an option? And now obviously you'd have to talk to Amazon and all that, but any random business or company can look at this as sidechain, federated sidechain, and say, yeah, I'm going to build on top of that versus Hyperledger versus Ethereum.
Yeah, I would like to get to the point where it's very, very easy to build on top of the platform. So you can take, you could say, okay, I want to build an XRP Ledger sidechain. And then basically you just go through a checklist, like this is what I want my native token to be. This is the consensus algorithm I want to use. This is how I'm going to pick the initial validators. Oh, I want to do, trade finance. So I'm going to write the trade finance transactor. And there's easy tooling, and there's a slot that you would just drop your transaction in, and you would say, oh, I want the decentralized exchange. I don't want escrow. I want multi-sign, and push a button, and Amazon could definitely, they certainly have the infrastructure to make that happen. What we need to do is we need to create the software that's clean and organized enough so that you can easily sort of put that suite together. And then I think that it could be very competitive in that field. I think there's a lot of native features of the XRP Ledger.
See, I made a TikTok about that comment today, and I guess the lead up to it wasn't more bullish. It was just the setup to his answer for the Amazon.
Particularly if you want to use it as a decentralized blockchain. We haven't thought as much about optimizing the feature set for people who want more control, but I think the CBDC effort is going to force us to think in that way. And we have a team that's thinking about like, what does that look like? So I think it would definitely be a goal to be competitive in that space.
Awesome. Question here from the community: what is your completed vision for the XRP Ledger? And that could be years away because there's iterations, there's things being worked on, innovation. What's the end goal? And I know that's a very loaded question, so as much as you can disclose.
No, I can tell you I had this very early, and I think I've held it all the time. I still think that this is probably the right end vision, which is, and I've used this phrase many times over the last 8 years, is pools of liquidity that anybody can contribute to and draw off. And what I mean is we're going to be a multi-currency world for a very long time. And there's no end state in which we're not at least multi-asset. Even if, let's say, Bitcoin takes over the world, just being ridiculous, well, maybe not, who knows? Let's say Bitcoin takes over the world. Still, someone's going to want to hold shares in the real estate.
Okay, how does this man, a super genius, not realize? I guess he does realize in the back of his mind, but he still has to say that Bitcoin could take over the world.
estate investment trust in the Seychelles Islands that I keep using in my example. People are not going to want, not everyone's going to want to hold Bitcoin all the time like that, or they're going to need liquidity. Like there's no world where we're not going to need cross-asset payments. We're going to need liquidity. And what I've discovered, like looking at the payment space, is that liquidity is trapped and assets are trapped. And I think that is a multi-trillion-dollar problem. And that's the problem that I think I've been trying to work to solve for the past 10 years. So that vision is
multi-trillion-dollar problem. Did you hear him correctly? They have a problem that they see is worth multi-trillions if they fix it. And that's what they're going for. And they've been going for that. Right? These things don't happen. You don't fix a multi-trillion-dollar problem overnight. Some of you can't even, or some people, not some of you, but some people can't even fix anything in their life for their whole life. You don't fix a multi-trillion-dollar problem overnight. And they've been grinding towards it.
If I want to trade asset A for asset B, it could be a payment, it could be an investment, it could be taking a loan, it could be making a loan payment, whatever it is. Like the concept of swapping one asset for another can encompass almost all of finance. And the idea is that the liquidity for that would come from public pools. And it might not just be one pool, it could be 5 or 6 different pools provided by different people. So if you have an asset, you're Apple and you have a whole bunch of US dollars in Ireland because that's just where they wound up. Like there are people who need US dollars in Ireland who might be willing to like buy those US dollars. You might prefer to have, euros somewhere or whatever. Like this idea of those public pools that anyone can contribute a draw off of and access like on a fair and equal basis. And then I think the other component is XRP as sort of the liquidity of quote unquote last resort. But I think like in the tokenized world, the long tail is enormous. And so, yes, there's going to be lots of USD to euro trades, and whether or not a digital asset could be competitive in that space, there are circumstances under which it can, but they're limited. But if it's that long tail, people across like a truly global economy, there's going to be a lot of transactions that there aren't those deep pools of liquidity for. And so that vision is like, if you want to make some asset liquid, you make it liquid to XRP, and then it's liquid to everything else liquid to XRP. And I think
that's a very interesting answer. Hasn't it really already? What is another thing that is a store of value that one is worth so much money? I mean, what is 1 ounce of gold worth? Yeah, I mean, it has kind of taken over the world, but I mean, we're talking about making a new financial system. Bitcoin itself is only a new financial system for very select people, because you could essentially withdraw yourself from the entire financial system and everything, get land somehow, right? You would still have to have a foot in the fiat system, though, I think. My friends say no to me invest in XRP because of the lawsuit. Damn. Yeah. I would have already 10x my investments. Art is basically a way of avoiding taxes. Oh, I didn't want to insult art lovers. Why I said subjective. Yeah. I don't think Bitcoin has taken over the world necessarily. Like, what is it doing for people? It doesn't do anything for people. It does not make it doesn't even make things easier, really. It makes a payment easier, but like, I don't know. It would only be useful, or it would only be a new financial system for certain people.
That's sort of the vision. It's still based around payments. It's why, like, whenever someone says, let's add this feature to the XRP ledger to be competitive for the latest thing, like it happened with NFTs, it's happened with DeFi, I try to hold the line at saying, okay, but we don't want to make it worse for like the use case we don't want to degrade that end vision. And the only thing is, though, there's a lot of evidence. I have to say, like, being fair and objective here, there's a lot of evidence that being the best at payments, like, doesn't seem to like matter that much. Like, are people really using the XRP ledger that way, even though I think it's best for it? So the trick is going to be to figure out what are the obstacles to getting the world to adopt it for that purpose, and knocking those down. And I don't know what they are. So I'm still just a dreamer, I guess.
There is a quick question here about social credit system.
Yeah,
that came from the community. If you could quickly touch on that.
Yeah, so this is why Ripple's called Ripple. So in the very Ryan Fugger.
Oh man, is he about to get into this? This is why Ripple is called Ripple, he just said.
This is why Ripple is called Ripple. So in the very Ryan Fugger in 2014 or so, I'm sorry, in 2004 or so, built a system called Ripple Pay, and we have a lot of Ripple's DNA comes from Ripple Pay. And he had this idea that money could be created by a friend doing a favor for another friend. So if you want me to help you move, you owe me one. And that's an asset that I have and can trade. And if someone needs a favor from you, like I could trade that asset. And we built the system. Arthur Brito who brought this idea to the table. In the early days, when we realized that the XRP ledger had certain properties that were different from Bitcoin, for example, inherent fairness. There's no miner who gets to choose which transactions execute when. It doesn't matter in Bitcoin. It's a store of value. If my transaction gets delayed by a couple of blocks because miners don't like me for some reason, if that ever happened, it doesn't really matter. Like some miner's going to include my transaction eventually, unless the whole system's broken and everybody hates me, in which case obviously we've got to fix it. But it doesn't really matter that there's sort of short-term unfairness for a store of value. But it does matter for a cross-asset, cross-currency, decentralized exchange. And so we designed in essentially lines of credit between people. So I can say, like, I'm willing to let Tony owe me up to $100. And now that's an asset, because if there's people who want me to owe them money, and people who want you to owe them money, you now can sort of use that social credit as an asset. And here's like...
That shit is crazy. Are you hearing this social credit thing? That's actually insane. That's actually insane. You're turning favors into assets. Like when you owe your friend, that's an asset. That is super crazy.
Here's like
it's almost like, I don't even know. It's like the debt is being dealt with within the people instead of the banks. Does that make sense? Like this debt would change hands to the people owning the debt. I don't know. Damn, that what he just said though is a crazy concept.
Tangible use case. Let's say you're out of money. Your paycheck is coming in a week, but you need money right now, to buy groceries. Well, your options kind of suck. You could let a payment lapse on a credit card. You could get a cash advance. You might be, you get a short-term payday loan. Like these things really suck.
Right.
But asking me for money sucks too. I might be perfectly willing to loan you the money, but God, it's awful. For one thing, I might say no. You have to ask. I have to think about it. And then, like, what if you genuinely forget to pay me back? What if you pay me back and I forget? Like, it's a freaking nightmare. And then that IOU becomes something that, like, we have to track. So we built in this ability in the XRP ledger to say, I'm willing to let Tony borrow up to $100 from me at any time he wants. And you could say, hey, I'm willing to let David borrow up to $100. And now, if I have an IOU from you and you have an IOU from me, we both have a valuable asset. Other people may want those assets because they need things from me or from you. And so what happened is, instead of you and I being in debt to each other, we actually each have an asset that we can then trade. And we built that into the XRP ledger in 2012, and it's still there. And I think it's one of the
in 2012,
coolest things ever. The trick is though managing it. Like if you're going to have these lines of credit, like effectively, like you have to manage them somehow. With the XRP ledger, you could.
Man, it seems like there is so many genius ideas bunched into the Ripple and the XRP, the whole thing, and they just can't execute and can't like make it happen, or it's gonna happen. It's just taking long. I don't know. Request for drinking pod. Today I saw a comment on YouTube video. Hedera is not new or decentralized. What? How is the hash graph not new? That's an interesting comment.
That money from me, I can reduce your credit whenever I want. I can raise it. I can demand a payback, from whatever liquidity you have available. It's a really cool system, and I just wish more people played with it.
It's really interesting, and to your point of the traditional way of payday loans and all that nonsense, and the trouble that goes with all of that, and ridiculous,
it's terrible.
Rates, right, interest rates, and things like that. I like that idea. So if one was to try to do this, how would they go about doing it?
Well, it works right now. So if you have an account on the XRP ledger and I have an account on the XRP ledger, I can say that you are allowed to owe me up to a certain amount of dollars, and there have to be dollars in the system somewhere. Like people are willing to accept dollars issued by some gateway. It all just works. And you know, there have been a lot of things that have been taboo to talk about. Like at one time, sex was taboo to talk about. Sexual orientation would never have been talked about. It was completely taboo. People didn't talk about religion. They didn't talk about politics. The one thing that people still don't talk about is money. Today, people talk about everything else on Twitter, on Facebook. People tweet when they go into the bathroom. I mean, they talk about they talk about everything but money. And I think there are so many advantages if people could be more open about money. And the biggest one being that people who have financial problems but have resources around them who would be glad to help them could just get that help automatically without having to go through. We need a system to track it and manage it. That's all. But doing it by hand is terrible because we can't put together the interactions in a controlled way. And so a system like the XRP Ledger has the capability to do all that. And I would just love to.
Stephanie, I just realized what you meant by that Venmo thing. That's messed up. That is messed up. You must be scarred from that. You think XRP is very high? Yeah, the favor idea is good, but I feel like that puts the debt back into the people's hands, which is like better instead of it being through a bank or something. I don't know. But let's keep watching. We've got about 15 minutes more on here or something. 10 maybe? Oh, yeah, close to 10, actually. And then we could do whatever after. I don't know how long I'll be on after because it's already been a long stream, but let's keep watching this. This is a good interview so far. The first one was better, though, unless we get into some stuff here.
To see people using it for that purpose.
I want to switch gears here quickly because I know we're almost up on time. Any thoughts on recent updates around the lawsuit with the SEC and things going?
Okay, yeah, we're getting to some SEC lawsuit. Let's see what he's talking about.
I know there's probably not much you can talk about, but anything you can share on that front.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to say anything that's going to surprise anyone, but like the SEC's rules have been completely unclear. They have not. Everybody has been asking them for some sort of a policy or some sort of guidelines or some way to figure out what's allowed and what's not, and they just have not offered any clarity. They seem to say that Bitcoin and ETH are not securities, and then they kind of walk that back a little bit when people push them. They've left everything in limbo. It's driving innovation out of the United States. And to be fair, like the United States has always been a difficult jurisdiction to work in, largely because you have 50 states and you have an enormous number of different federal regulators.
Yeah, it seems like the United States is more like the divided states. Yeah. More like the divided states. There is nothing united about the United States. There is nothing. It is all division over there.
Overlapping areas of authority.
Okay, so let's jump to PolySign because there was news about over the past month or so, the partnership with Cohen.
Yes, so excited about that.
Yeah, if you can talk to us about that.
Yeah, so Cohen led PolySign's Series B round, and they invested $25 million. And they have institutional clients that need to secure and access digital assets in their portfolio. So
if you don't know what PolySign is, it's David Schwartz's project that he's not allowed to talk about of what it actually is and stuff. But here he's giving us some insight because there was some news at the last week or last month.
It's great. It's not just funding, but it's a vote of confidence, and it's a source of customers, and it's a good alignment. Institutional investors need secure and compliant ways to store and access their funds. You're talking about multi-trillion-dollar crypto and digital asset markets, and Cowen's going to integrate PolySign's digital banking tech into their sales and their trading platform. So it's not just an investment. It's not just an investment.
That's
so
awesome.
Cowen will.
Why did he look like he was reading right there? If you look at his eyes,
be providing custody services with Standard Custody and Trust, which is PolySign's now licensed trust.
Now, with the respective connections of you and Arthur with Ripple and PolySign, is Ripple going to be leveraging PolySign in any way for maybe connections with his clients, or Any type of work being done there, or it's just completely separate?
There are definitely conversations going on about that, but it's too early to share any sort of announcement or anything like that.
Sure. Okay, so quickly here, thoughts on the whole Bitcoin energy thing, ESG, El Salvador, and Elon Musk, and all that that's happened.
Oh,
David knows that's for the sheeps right there. What's this guy's name that's with David? This is Thinking Crypto. David knows all those terms. Listen.
El Salvador and Elon Musk and all that that's happened.
Oh, it's always exciting when prices are going up. It's exciting when prices are going down. It's exciting when there's news. It's exciting when there's no news. I guess that's the only time it's not exciting. We definitely live in interesting times. I do think that the narrative that like using energy for mining is somehow promoting the development of clean energy is just comically ridiculous. There's a problem in the energy market. Is not a shortage of demand. It's just not. The idea that more demand will spur the development of clean technologies, it's true. More demand will. It's just the problem spurring them on today is not the lack of demand. It's just technology is slow in coming and expensive to deploy. So, the amount of energy that Bitcoin consumes, over something like.
Do you know if XDC will be listed on any huge exchange? I have not heard anything. They just got listed on KuCoin, so maybe there's something in the works. But I'm hoping for Binance, and I'm also hoping for QNT on Binance too.
Like 130 terawatt hours, the size of Sweden. So it's become a religious point. And I think also it's important to understand that miners are stakeholders in the Bitcoin ecosystem. They really are. Like Bitcoin solves a problem for miners as well as it solves a problem for everybody else. Like they want to make money. That's true. One of the things that was important to me when I built the XRP ledger and when designed it with Arthur and Jed was this idea that there wouldn't be a second group of stakeholders who were trying to sort of monetize the transactions of like the people who just wanted to use it to trade. What's going on in El Salvador? Boy, I mean, crypto is definitely here to stay. Adoption is becoming widespread. Retail use is starting to materialize.
Stephanie, to answer that question, they have a trust fund. El Salvador actually has a trust fund, and you can actually use, you can accept Bitcoin. Actually, you have to accept Bitcoin. That means if you own a shop in El Salvador, and somebody comes to you and they want to pay in Bitcoin, you have to accept it. You can't say, no, we don't take that. You have to. It's literally legal tender, right? But they have a way for you to avoid the risk with a trust fund where you can get fiat money or US dollar, right? They have a way of doing that. I was in the Twitter spaces on Twitter with 50,000 people, and the president was in there. The president of El Salvador was in a chat room, and I was listening to him talk about that and how they have a trust wallet. Also, he mentioned the volcano mining early, right? XDC will be available through Flare Finance Network, not as an F asset. Yeah. The Flare Finance and XDC partnership is interesting. Let's keep going. We've only got like 6 minutes on here.
It's going to be interesting to see what that actually turns into. It's going to be interesting to see whether more countries adopt Bitcoin or other neutral cryptocurrencies as a legal tender. I think we're going to see more countries innovating in the space. We'll see if El Salvador's experiment is successful. It's a little odd. I've looked at some of the details and they're weird. So it's not as simple as what you would think. For one thing, the cost of a Bitcoin transaction on the native blockchain is just out of the realm of what a typical, transaction in El Salvador, if you're spending $1 to buy bread, you can't spend $8 on a transaction fee, or 30 small transactions. So what they're doing is they're building infrastructure on top of Bitcoin. And I think there's a legitimate fear that this is a ploy for the regime to essentially build up a stash of Bitcoin at the expense of sort of robbing its citizens of dollars that are, you know,
that's
are pretty
crazy
hard
right there.
and solid asset that the regime can't manipulate. You might say, well, they can't manipulate Bitcoin. Well, they can't manipulate Bitcoin on the blockchain. They can certainly manipulate Bitcoin if it's going through multiple layers of adaptation to bring the transaction fee down. So it's encouraging for the narrative that it will drive, and that it may encourage other countries to take a closer look. It may encourage, you know, more development and interest. Whether it's encouraging for what it's going to actually do for El Salvador, I'm very, very skeptical of this being an actual good thing for El Salvador.
Damn,
So,
that's interesting.
From a payment standpoint, I think certainly we can agree with it. Like Bitcoin is not great for payments and fees. But do you see value in the store of value use case? Holding it like gold, essentially.
Well, for one thing, it's not good as a means of exchange on the blockchain. That doesn't mean that you can't have, I mean, Lightning has been long in coming, but also just like you can use Bitcoin as a means of exchange on centralized systems. Like that might be fine. You know, that's good for the Bitcoin ecosystem. You need central parties. It's not great for like the cryptocurrency narrative, but if that solves people's real problems, I think that's ultimately good for the Bitcoin ecosystem. And then if they can move on to more decentralized infrastructure later, that's good too. So I hesitate to say that like Bitcoin is useless for payments. It's just useless on the blockchain. And if you think that the decentralization and censorship resistance is the most important thing, then it's less useful for use cases where that's the key thing that you want. As far as the store of value goes, it's hard to use it as a store of value when the value is so volatile. I mean, we dropped from $58,000 to, you know, under $40,000 in a very short period of time. You know, it lost what, 25% of its value or so.
You're done, son. Thank you for the follow. So let's keep going. Almost done this interview, and then we're gonna chill. I don't know how long I'll be on after, but let's keep going.
33% of its value in a short period of time.
I hope he does the rapid fire questions at the end of this.
So it's still a speculative asset. Whether in the future it won't be, I've been talking for a decade about how the volatility should be expected to reduce as adoption increases. The real world has made a liar out of me. It now seems that like Bitcoin is a security of Elon Musk's Twitter account. I mean, which is like the centralized, which is like the common scheme,
And you're getting banned. Good job. Or you're getting timed out, bro. We don't do no stock talk. And especially coming in here with the first message being that. Bruh. Yo. I'm not down with the stocks.
Central party on which we all rely to increase or decrease its value based on how he feels that day. Oh, I feel better about mining now, and I like Bitcoin. Oh, I feel bad about it. It seems like it's Elon Musk's mood ring right now. I think it's going to have to mature.
Bitcoin is Elon Musk's mood ring. Wow.
Out of that.
Right.
What's happening today, let's be realistic, is that most of the value is speculative. And what people are basically speculating on is that there'll be more speculators in the future than there are today, right? Like the set of people who are willing to hold Bitcoin as a speculative asset is growing, and the amount of money they're willing to speculate on it is growing. And so that foresees a possible increase in demand in the future, and therefore a possible increase in price. So it's speculation on speculation. Honestly, I mean, that's what I see. So getting from that to a store of value, it's a couple of steps removed. Yes, I still do. If you asked me 10 years ago whether I thought we'd be there in 10 years, I probably would have said yes. And here I am in 10 years saying again, I do think that like eventually the speculation has, you can start a business with no idea of a revenue model, but at some point you either have to make money or you have to stop spending money, right? There comes a reckoning at some point. And there's gotta be, it can't remain speculation on speculation forever. At some point, it either has to deliver real utility or it has to fail. And I think the vulnerability for Bitcoin is that it will be eclipsed by something technologically superior, because
Wow, that's pretty crazy right there.
Bitcoin can't really evolve at layer 1. It has to evolve at layer 2. There are too many entrenched.
Okay, well that's Stacks. Stacks, if anybody knows about Stacks.
Just like I said, miners are stakeholders, so it can't really abandon proof of work. If proof of work dies, Bitcoin will probably be replaced by something. It's unlikely to be able to evolve. In the early days, I thought Bitcoin would last forever because if any new technology came out, it'd have to be open source, and so Bitcoin would just adopt it. But what it turns out is that you can't be everything. Like Ethereum has given up some of its ability to be an efficient payment system for DeFi. You can't be all things to all people. And so Bitcoin is vulnerable to technological obsolescence. It's going to have to find some real utility before that happens. I don't know how much time it has. It could be decades. So, don't panic.
Right. So final question. What other crypto projects interest you that are like, wow, that's a good idea? Is it like basic attention token? Is it Hbar? Anything?
Oh my, he mentioned Hbar right there. He mentioned Hbar in front of David Schwartz. Let's go. Please, can he endorse Hbar? That's crazy.
Wow, that's a good idea. Is it like basic attention token? Is it Hbar? Anything Algorand that piques your interest?
And he mentioned some ISO coin right there with the algo. Shout out to Thinking Crypto for that one.
I'm really interested in innovation at the consensus level because that's just sort of what excites me the most. So projects that are looking at different forms of basically solving the double spend problem, bringing the cost down. I think what's going to be interesting is being able to more quickly, easily, and cheaply build decentralized systems that don't where you don't have to worry about like the Federators doing an exit scam, or you don't have to worry about the company going out of business. And I think technologies that can bring that down, new crypto stuff, zero knowledge proofs.
Of course, he's not going to mention Hbar by name because it is the elephant in the room, as I've said on Twitter before.
And some of that kind of thing. I think ultimately, like what makes cryptocurrency space special is this ability to build truly decentralized systems that nobody has any legal right to control or ability to sort of exit.
Heidi, thanks for the follow right there.
Scam and run off with people.
Welcome to the Gold Squad.
Funds. And there are some areas we can't quite do that in yet, like launching a new blockchain and having like the double spend problem solved in a decentralized way, trustlessly having the same asset available on multiple blockchains for horizontal scaling. And the stuff going on with zero knowledge proofs, like those, I'm really a wonk at the technology level. Like I really love what the new tech that's going to enable people to build, more exciting.
Okay, how about Hashgraph? Come on, talk about Hashgraph.
Interesting things that we can't even envision yet. That's unfortunately, because it's not super interesting to other people, but that's what gets me excited. But ultimately, like that's what translates into all these cool projects, right? Like if you thought Zcash and Monero were cool, like it's zero knowledge proofs and weird new stuff going on in the crypto space that made those technologies possible. So it's the really wonky technical stuff that I love that's going to make possible an explosion of practical applications in the future.
Heidi, you're trying to learn? Perfect. That's who I want watching my channel, is people who want to learn, especially about things like XRP and Hbar.
Well, David, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. And
come on, do the rapid fire, please. It doesn't look like he does it, actually.
And I love the idea of the Federated from the...
Talking to you, Tony. I'm always happy to be...
All right, that was the interview with Ripple CTO. I mean, that one was way worse, in my opinion, than the first one. The first one was, he was dropping bombs, but I guess... yeah, shout out to Thinking Crypto. You can go watch this on his channel if you didn't watch the whole thing. But we just went through that. Now, we can just... that was great. Death by Peach, you like it? Yeah, we got some good info on the Federated sidechains. Basically, I'm less bullish on them after hearing his thoughts on it. I'm less bullish on the Federated sidechain idea. Just because he said it's fully community driven and they don't have a secret agenda for it. I want them to have a secret agenda for it. But he has said that it's community driven. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I didn't watch that until just now. We watched the whole thing. That's how you got to do research, though. If I was actually watching this, I would have it on 1.5 speed and just try to absorb David's knowledge into me. Lehman is the best. Yeah, Lehman's a different beast. Well, I would like to see Lehman. Okay, imagine this room, okay? Imagine this room. You got Lehman sitting over there. You've got Vitalik Buterin sitting there, and you've got David Schwartz. What happens in that room? Surely the next Google is built, right? Surely. Why don't these people work together? Get Lehman, get David, get Vitalik in the same room and see what happens. They would probably... I don't know. I don't even know if they could physically communicate with each other. It might get weird. It might get weird because they're just all super geniuses. Not having the secret agenda is the agenda. Wow. I haven't bought XRP yet. I've been watching it for weeks. Should I wait for it? I hate that question of should I wait and go lower or buy now. You got to evaluate yourself that. So you take the potential. It's a math problem. Take the potential. Do you see XRP being amazing? And then you evaluate, like, clearly we're in a dip right now, right? Clearly this is a dip. We just fell from $1.59 all the way below $1, right? So, I mean, you can evaluate that potential. Because I can't relate. My buys are under 40 cents and my lowest buy is 17 cents on XRP. So it's like, if somebody's asking me if they should wait, it's like you should have been in, but obviously that's not possible. So you got to wait for the best opportunity. Look for the dips. 85 cents. A lot of people would tell you that you will regret not buying at 85 cents. A lot of people would say that. A lot of people would say you would regret not buying XRP at $2. Yeah, eventually if you hold. So that would be my answer to that. They would write a new rap song. XDC and Quant are now top 100. Really? XDC broke back in? Wow, look at this. Look at this. Slowly they're creeping up. I can't wait till XYO gets into the top 100. Damn, what am I doing here? Odyssey? But I think we're going to wrap this up. Let me know in the chat. Do we want to watch BitBoy's little piece about XRP right here or not? Spam a yes or a no in the chat. Do we want to watch BitBoy talk about XRP for like 2 minutes? 2 minutes. Let me know. Yes? No. Yusuf just no BitBoy. I regret not buying Bitcoin at 100. Did you have the chance? Death by Peach, you had the chance. It's 2 minutes, of course. Okay, let's watch him. What's BitBoy gonna say? He's XRP Army. He has about $150,000 in XRP.
Finally, no conversation about payments would be complete without the piping hot bowl of queso we call XRP. In case you don't know or don't like queso, XRP has been the darling of the crypto scene for years, even while it's been put in the fridge by the SEC. XRP's ability to process payments is established, proven, and scalable.
Man, I hate these scripted. I hate the scripts. I like when he's live. I like when BitBoy is live. I don't like the scripted, wrote out videos where he's reading, right? But let's listen again.
No conversation about payments.
So first of all, he's calling XRP a hot, steaming bowl of queso. And then he's saying that the SEC put it in the fridge.
In case you don't know or don't like queso, XRP has been the darling of the crypto scene for years, even while it's been put in the
and I like that, darling.
Fridge.
I like that word, darling.
The SEC. XRP's ability to process payments is established, proven, and scalable.
Facts.
So the use case for XRP to plug into El Salvador's economy is a no-brainer, like ordering queso. When you get Latin food, you get the queso. Challenger XRP.
He must be hungry or something. He must be hungry. BitBoy's been working out, though. He's grinding. I see him.
Will be getting away from the SEC and putting that lawsuit behind them. Check out our latest XRP update here above. It's looking good for Ripple Labs, but they have to put their order in fast or else they'll risk getting left under the heat lamps. Bitcoin is winning, and Bitcoin payment methods are innovating, making easy Bitcoin payments as simple as the Speedy Gonzalez lunch special. Soon, El Salvador will be able to use these payment systems to buy things they want and things that they need, and they can see their wealth grow with Bitcoin or maybe another option. Ultimately, the massive population of unbanked people can become part of an independent, decentralized monetary system that they control. And that, my friend, is why El Salvador is adopting Bitcoin and why we love crypto. But remember, there are also other options out there, not just Bitcoin. Comment below and tell us which payment method you think is trust. Comments down below, and if you haven't...
Okay, so that was literally about nothing. Look how he tagged this video. Greatest Bitcoin Master Plan 2021. Is XRP involved? No, you didn't even talk about XRP. So that was he kind of wasted my time there. He just called it a bowl of queso and left. Yes, we love the other options. We love the other options. I want to retire 51. You wish this stuff was around when I was your age? Hey, these opportunities were still around, right? We're just getting another cycle of the riches and wealth building opportunities. These cycles happen like it's a wheel turning. It's a wheel turning. And this is the biggest wheel. Okay, the chat is getting spammed, as you can see. Please do not go to that website. Please do not go to that website. I don't know how that's even happening. Do not go to this website. Do not go to this website. Do not go to this website right here on screen. Do not. That is a scam. That is a complete scam. Complete scam. Please don't go to that website. You will get all your money stolen from you. Do not go to that website. But we're gonna have to end the stream because I guess we're getting raided. You don't see any spams? They were right on my screen right here, and I don't see them. It's actually getting blocked. Hold on, let me just turn off that. Yeah, it's getting blocked by my spam filter. It's getting blocked by my... I shouldn't even tell them. Screw them. I'm not telling them. I'm not telling them what's up. I'm not telling them what's up with it because it's not working. If I turn this back on, if I turn that back on, hold on, it's not even working now. If I turn that chat back on, it should. Okay, they stopped. Okay, cool. But that is all. We're gonna wrap up the stream, folks, because it's been a long one, 1 hour and 40 minutes. But make sure you follow on Instagram and Twitter right there. If you're watching on YouTube, check all the links in the description. I love you all for watching every single day. That interview was great. If you haven't seen the first one, go watch the first one because it's even better. I wouldn't even spend time. Well, we just watched the second one, so you're already good. But let's go. Let's go. I'm still here. We're still holding. Let's go. XRP going to circle the sun. XRP is going to Jupiter. Jupiter is where we're going. Now, I might actually go live on TikTok or Instagram. Maybe. Don't hold me to it. Maybe. After this. Maybe. But peace out, everyone. Shout out the Gold Squad. I love you all. And let's get it. Peace out. I'm just going to end the stream. No ending screen. Tomorrow, stay tuned in the morning for the daily market update. Yo, Xiang Zineg. I can't pronounce that, but thank you. GMR Finance. I don't know what that is. Probably a shitcoin. But peace.